None of that comes out. Fortunately, we now have a whistleblower, and I'm going to tell you something, Maria. We're gonna do what we can to bring ABC in and have them answer some questions, and as well as have this whistleblower and see what's going on as they're trying to tear down the First Amendment.
I'm glad you mentioned this because Fox News is reaching out to ABC for response to that affidavit and this Bill Ackman post about this whistleblower. We want answers, but Bill Ackman posted this on X about an alleged ABC whistleblower affidavit that says Harris's campaign dictated the debate questions, camera angles, and the fact-checking of Trump at the debate. He writes, quote, "Sadly for the state of truth in media, I expect the whistleblower allegations will be deemed to be true." Ackman also pointed out that ABC News' David Muir and Lindsay Davis have yet to make any statements on the alleged affidavit. He said, quote, "If you are not guilty as alleged, you have no choice but to immediately issue a statement denying the claims, for silence is an admission of complicity." ABC News has already denied allegations of collusion between the presidential debate moderators and the Harris campaign. We know Lindsay Davis is her sorority sister, but they told the Daily Beast last week, absolutely not. Harris was not given any questions before the debate. We've reached out to ABC to verify the affidavit and for a statement on these accusations, Congressman, but this affidavit and this whistleblower story is gaining traction.
Yes, absolutely, and as it should. We need to find out what the truth is. And the thing is this, we all saw it. We actually don't need a hearing to know what we saw, but we're going to look to do it so as we can provide some evidence as to how manipulative they are.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the ABC whistleblower affidavit testifying that ABC did, in fact, rig the presidential debate against President Trump and in favor of Kamala Harris. Now, here's the thing. I am not surprised by the allegations in this affidavit, okay? This affidavit allegedly comes from an ABC employee. It was released on X through an account called the Black Insurrectionist. Now, the Black Insurrectionist is not the ABC employee, but the ABC employee apparently decided to release this affidavit through this account on X and allegedly sent the affidavit that had some retracted information, like, for example, the notary seal and things of that nature. He decided to send this to Mike Johnson, the leader of the House, the Speaker of the House. Okay, so, you know, there are reasons to believe that it is legit, but there are also reasons to ask questions about the affidavit and its legitimacy. Now, me personally, I don't know, because there also allegedly are audio recordings as well too that prove that these allegations are true, that is alleged in this affidavit. And I want to talk about it, okay, because ABC, they're speaking out about the allegations that they rigged the debate, and their response, I think, is very fascinating. And I want to talk about it, so I'm going to go ahead and play this clip from Megyn Kelly, in which she's going to react to some of the claims in this affidavit and ABC's response to these claims. Take a look.
You wouldn't have known that if it really was something that was legitimately sent on September 9th from watching the debate. All right, so says the thing about the podium. He says she negotiated to look a certain way on the split screens. He says that ABC News agreed to fact check Trump only and not her. He says that they provided sample questions, not the exact questions, he alleges, but sample questions covering similar topics that would appear during the debate. He says that they had agreed certain topics would be off limits, including the perceived health of Joe Biden, her tenure as Attorney General, and her brother-in-law, Tony West, who used to work at DOJ and is accused of settling cases at very large numbers when the plaintiffs were Democrat operatives or anyone he thought he wanted to or could curry favor with. That's a short form description of all that. He talks about the observed bias against Trump within ABC. And then he says in this affidavit, I have secretly recorded several conversations that will prove the Harris campaign insisted upon not only the fact-checking of Donald Trump, but also insisted on what questions were not to be asked under any circumstances, or else the Harris campaign would decline to participate in the debate. All right? This is all there. Do not know. We went through some of the questions about the affidavit. It's not the most beautiful document I've ever seen. A lot of not grammatical errors. Actually, there aren't any. There's no spelling errors, but there are grammatical errors in it. And then there's a notary public seal or sign without the seal, but Black Insurrectionist says he's redacted the seal, and a notary public seal does reveal the identity of the notary. So that it would make sense if you're trying to maintain anonymity all around that you might do that. Okay, so we don't know. We don't know whether this is real or not real, but we are open-minded to it, and we are trying to report on the story. Well, not surprisingly, those who are covering it in the media are dumping on it, laughing at it. We'll find out whether it deserved to be laughed at. But ABC News finally responded. They finally responded. Kamala Harris has not responded. And this is what they said. They gave a statement to the Daily Beast. Quote, ABC News followed the debate rules that both campaigns agreed on and which clearly state no topics or questions will be shared in advance with campaigns or candidates. That's it. We followed the rules which state no topics or debate questions will be shared in advance. What? Did you have private negotiations with Kamala Harris and her campaign? Did you agree that she would have a special look on stage from the podium to the split screen situation? Did you agree that you wouldn't ask about Tony West, about her tenure as AG, about her, about President Biden's mental fitness and her role in covering it up? Did you agree to any of that? Do you deny that there could possibly be tapes of an executive or someone at ABC News reiterating that promise or making it in the first instance? This is so generic and empty as to cause more concerns than we had yesterday. It is not a denial that sounds like a truth-telling denial. If you, I've anchored many presidential debates, as you know. If you ever accused me of any of this, what I would say is I can categorically deny that we did any of this.
Yeah, so I want to dig a little bit deeper into Megyn Kelly's reaction. However, before I do that, I want to play a clip that also came out just yesterday from David Muir, one of the moderators at the debate, in which he's going to respond to some of the criticism that they've been getting for basically debating the president, okay, instead of actually moderating the debate. He claims that all the criticism is just noise.
I will say this about the debate. You guys know me better than anyone. You know, I basically disappeared for the end of the summer because of the weight of this debate. You take it seriously, Lindsay and I, and this extraordinary small team we have at ABC. And we spent a lot of time, and I believe it was our duty to ask the issues that Americans care about. You know, the economy. Are we better off than we were 4 years ago? Immigration. What are you going to do about the border? Why did you wait so long before you acted at the border? Those types of questions. Reproductive rights. Afghanistan. Do you bear any responsibility? Peaceful transfer of power with the next election coming. You know, these are all really important issues. The issues of our time, really. And I always say as a moderator, you know, what the candidates decide to do with that time, you can ask the questions, but they'll answer with whatever they choose to answer with. That's right. And you have to be ready for whatever might come your way, even the most unexpected of moments. As you all know, you know what I'm talking about. Right. And I will say this. All of the noise that you hear afterward about, you know, which candidate won the debate, did the moderators win or lose, that's just noise. Yeah. You all know that. The most important thing to remember is that you all have the power. Everybody at home has the power to vote.
Yeah, so according to David Muir, all the criticism is just noise, right? Don't listen to it. It's just noise. Now, here's what I think about this affidavit and these allegations against ABC. I think, personally, I don't need the affidavit to be real or fake, really, to know that they rigged the debate in favor of Kamala Harris. I mean, everybody knows it, okay? Everybody saw it. Everybody saw the fact that only Trump was being subject to fact checks, okay? There were plenty of conflicts of interest going into this debate, okay, that should have been addressed, like Lindsay Davis being a sorority sister of Kamala Harris, right? And then you got these people trying to gaslight the American people into believing, oh, this is not a conflict of interest, right? Them being a part of the same sorority, it doesn't matter. They weren't line sisters, right? As if Lindsay Davis is not aware of the impact that Kamala Harris, who's an AKA, would have on that organization if she became president of the United States, right? In fact, it's just not about her becoming president of the United States and the impact that it would have on her sorority, but all of the so-called Divine Nine black fraternities and sororities would get a benefit and a boost from Kamala Harris becoming president, right? So anybody who is associated with any one of those fraternities or sororities probably would have had significant conflicts of interest. So we know that the conflict of interests are there. We know that ABC is a rigged outlet, right? They're not Trump friendly, as the whistleblower testified that, hey, within the company, they're very anti-Trump. We also know that up until the date of the debate, Kamala Harris was still negotiating with ABC about the mics. Now, here's the thing that I find to be fascinating about that, right? Like, we know for a fact that Kamala Harris was still in negotiations with ABC News. And there was a story that came out, because I covered it at the time, in which it talked about how ABC had given Kamala some concessions and assurances, okay, that the mics wouldn't be an issue. Now, there weren't a lot of details about that, but a lot of people are looking over kind of what happened leading up to the debate and the alleged assurances for Kamala going into the debate.
Her debate team has been an upheaval because they haven't gotten that. Karen Dunn, who's in charge of debate prep, is being described as morose because she wants to have this Kavanaugh-like moment where she's prosecuting the case. She did it to Mike Pence. Let me speak. But there may be some nuance to the rules. Yes, I'm speaking. MJ Lee of CNN says this. There have been some assurances offered to the Harris campaign about how the network would handle any moments of significant crosstalk. So the mics are muted, but who's the muter? Who's doing the muting? Because that guy's got a lot of power if he is giving assurances about crosstalk.
It could be a woman.
Yeah, so to me, it all kind of makes sense. Okay, I think the fact that Kamala Harris, up until the last minute, was boohoo whining and crying about the mics at the debate, right? In ABC, at least in public, it seemed like they weren't capitulating to Kamala's demands, but then there was news reports that behind closed doors, behind the scenes, they were giving Kamala Harris assurances to make up for the mics being muted. And I would not be surprised if those assurances are the same things that are outlined in this whistleblower document, particularly when we're talking about giving sample questions ahead of time, right? Because we know that ABC wanted Kamala to win the debate. We know it was rigged because we saw the debate, right? We saw how there was one-sided fact-checking, okay? And basically the moderators were debating Trump for Kamala. Everybody saw it. The world saw it. So we know that it was slanted, okay, in favor of Kamala Harris and against Trump, although Kamala lied all night, right? So again, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some way that ABC basically tried to rig the debate in Kamala's favor behind the scenes, even more so than what they did in public, right? By saying, okay, well, we're not going to fact check you on this. We're not going to ask you these questions. And, you know, we won't do all these other things that you agree to if you just be okay with us muting the mic, okay? Don't worry. We're going to still rig it in your favor. We just got to do it another way, right? I'm pretty certain that's probably how it went down, okay? I have no doubt in my mind because that's what the world saw, right? In regards to how the debate went down. I mean, they were asking Trump about Kamala Harris being black. Okay, I mean, questions that really didn't have that much to do with what the American people were concerned about. They spent time on because they were slanted in Kamala Harris's favor. Everything was slanted in her favor. So again, regardless of whether or not this document is true, hey, doesn't matter to me because I'm pretty certain that at least some of the things that were alleged are probably true. Again, when it comes to the sample questions, I'm pretty sure they definitely did that because I've seen how the liberal media rigs the debates or rigs interviews in favor of Kamala Harris. Like, for example, I pointed out before the CNN interview with Kamala Harris, the first one that she did, that CNN basically told Kamala's campaign advisor that, yeah, we're going to ask you about this, right? Like, this is a question that you might want to have a better answer for because you're probably going to get asked about it. That is their way of leaking the questions to the Kamala campaign ahead of time, and they just do it in sneaky ways. And that's basically what's going on. So with that being said, me personally, I don't think it matters whether or not this document is real or not, okay? And I think the world saw what happened on that debate stage, and that's why you're seeing Kamala Harris's momentum come to a screeching halt. This is why she's not getting the debate bump that everybody thought that she would get after the debate because she didn't really do that well, especially considering how everything was rigged in her favor, right? How do you turn in a mediocre performance when everything is rigged for you, right? It's kind of crazy to think about. Kamala Harris turned in a mediocre performance despite the rigging. But is anybody surprised by this? I actually think that all of the interviews, everything that Kamala Harris does in public is rigged. Okay, this woman is on a script 24/7. This is why she gets softball after softball after softball interview because it's all scripted. She already knows the questions going in. She already knows what she's going to say. She never gets any pushback. She doesn't get tested. And it's no surprise that this didn't happen at the debate because it hasn't happened in any interviews before the debate, after the debate. It's the same pattern. It's the same thing. Because the liberal powers that be don't feel like they should actually do journalism when it comes to Democrats, right? When it comes to Kamala Harris, they don't. And this is why moving forward into the future to fix this problem and make sure this never happens again, because they're going to do it again, right? Even after Trump, they're going to do it again, okay? They're going to continue to do it this way because they've gotten away with it. Republicans should refuse to do any of these debates, okay, unless there is a bipartisan agreement on the moderators in the venue, right? Which is basically the system that was used up until this year. The Bipartisan Commission on Presidential Debates usually handles this type of stuff and guarantees that we get 3 debates, right? Sets all these things up. I don't think that we should have another season where we don't know if there's actually going to be debates, right? Because basically what happens is that Republicans and Democrats both decided that it would be advantageous for them to go around the commission. And I think it honestly ended up being a disaster, right? I really do. I think had they done it the way that they usually do it in the past, we would have had a better debate. It would have been less rigged, and we would have had more debates, okay? And I'm just hoping that Republicans learn their lesson from this and not to trust the mainstream liberal media with any debates that have not been negotiated on a bipartisan basis, okay? Because you cannot trust the mainstream liberal media to be bipartisan, to call it down the middle. So you got to make sure that everything is negotiated equally across the board, right? So, you know, that's the main takeaway from this, because in my mind, I feel like this election should be over, right? I feel like Kamala Harris should have been knocked out after that first debate. I mean, just watching her do interviews, struggling with softball questions. Yeah, this woman is not built for prime time, and the only reason she's still in the race is because she's being propped up and protected by the media, okay? And without the media protecting her, this election would have been over a long time ago. Again, it should have been over after the debate, and that's what really pisses me off the most about the debate, because if the debate wasn't so rigged, maybe, just maybe, Trump would have stuck to the points that I think that he wanted to make going into the debate and actually holding Kamala Harris accountable. But maybe the rigging threw him off. I'm not entirely sure. What I do know is that this is not something that we should ever see again. Now that we know this is how the mainstream liberal media operates, in the future, Republicans need to make sure that there are no debates unless both parties mutually agree upon everything, okay? And you don't have to capitulate to the liberal media and their silly demands unless you're getting everything that we want out of the terms as well too, to make sure that it's equal and fair. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.